Hey, Mariya.
Yeah, James.
Remember Mission Hill?
Yeah.
Remember how good that was?
Yep.
Welcome to Anime April. In the immortal words of Hayao Miyazaki, anime was a mistake.
God. Is the reason we're starting at rock bottom so that this week is only uphill? Is that the reason we started with this show? Or
You
is it?
wanted to start with this show.
I wanted to get it out of the way. First of all. And this is the only one that I've seen other than one other, the one that we're going to end on. The others are all your choices. So I don't know how bad those are.
They're great.
Right. So we're starting at the bottom, right?
We're starting at the bottom and we're crawling our way out of hell.
Yeah, essentially.
Yes.
So we started at rock bottom. Because this is what it was. It was rock bottom. Or maybe even 6 feet under rock bottom is where we are right now.
It's pretty low.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
It is
for sure.
really bad. Like, I was looking for a bad series for some week of Anime April.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't find anything that was even close to this bad. That wasn't just creepy in many ways.
Yeah, in several ways, as
yes.
Some anime is.
Oh, yeah. We could have went there.
I'm glad we didn't.
Same.
I'm sure we will at some point, but I'm glad we didn't.
Okay. Should we tell them what we watched?
Oh, God. Yeah, how about you start with our
yep.
creators of this monstrosity?
Yep. We watched Fairy Tail. Season 1, Episode 8, The Strongest Team. Original release date, November 30th, 2009. Animation director, Inayoshi Asako. Screenplay by Yonemura Syoji. Animation studio A1 Pictures / Satellite Inc. And Season 1, Episode 10, Natsu vs. Erza. Original release date, December 14th, 2009. Animation director, Hattori Kenji. Screenplay by Soko Masashi. Ugh.
So, unfortunately, we had to subject ourselves to 2 of these episodes, because the first one that we decided to watch was Natsu vs. Erza, in hopes to see some combat action, and critique that.
How long was the combat in this episode?
Barely like a minute.
Yeah.
Barely a minute. It was mostly a very excited crowd, so they just built it up. And that's how the episode starts, essentially. I might as well get into the summary while we're at it.
Yep, take it away.
And this is for episode 10, Natsu vs. Erza, which is the first one we saw. And so we start off with Lucy reading the papers about some incident that happened an episode before, a couple episodes before, and suddenly Gray is in her house. His name is Gray, right?
Yes.
Yes, Gray is in her house, half naked, as usual. Don't go to people's house half naked unless like you're their boyfriend or girlfriend. Don't do it, please. I implore you, don't do it. Especially unwelcomed. And to remind Lucy that Erza and Natsu are gonna have a fight to establish who is better. Even though Erza is supposed to be S-class, which already makes her better, but for some reason she has to fight Natsu to show that she's better. Like I don't understand. Anyway, and so there's this whole crowd, which animation was terrible, by the way. There's this whole crowd, and they all want to see them face off. And literally they just start. So Erza changes into her whatever other armor that she wants to wear, which is somehow less covered, covering her less than her base armor. And so she changes into one of her other armors. And before they even land the first blow, the duel is stopped by a frog. Who says that Erza is arrested because of public property damage. And so she gets taken away before the fight even starts, which I was pumped about, by the way. And there's like a really long drawn scene where everyone's just upset in the guild because she got arrested. And apparently Natsu is in a glass. In a salamander form. And he's yelling and ranting about essentially how he wants to go save Erza. On the other side, Erza is supposed to face trial in front of the council, which is the evil council, because that's what we've decided to name them. And there's a evil emo man with blue hair, and apparently him and Erza have history. And he explains to her that she's essentially just a scapegoat. Yeah, and then back at the guild, everyone finds out that the salamander in the glass is not actually Natsu, but someone else disguised as Natsu. And Natsu shows up at the council dressed as Erza to say that he's actually Erza, even though he's spitting fire from his mouth. And they both get put into prison. For the night, I guess, like, because they're out the next day. And they're like arguing about who's the better wizard, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's another guy who's on the second floor. What's his name, James?
Gerard?
I don't remember his name. He's a weird guy wearing weird headphone type things. And he's supposed to be an S-class wizard as well. And he's basically like, I'm better than the both of you, and I'm the only one who goes doing these S-class missions and blah blah blah. And he sort of brags a bit and then goes away. And so Natsu decides to steal one of the S-class missions and bring it to Lucy. And then all three of them, Lucy needs a little convincing, but then after that, the three of them sort of leave for an S-class mission, which they're not supposed to be doing, but they're doing it anyway. And yeah, that's essentially what happened in that episode. Nothing of much consequence, honestly. Yeah.
Which is why we had to watch another one.
Which is why we had to watch another one, which was a couple episodes earlier, which had some fight scenes and essentially
a plot.
Some kind of a plot going on. So yeah, we had to watch another episode, episode 8, The Strongest Team, which apparently Lucy is a part of, even though she does absolutely nothing, except like maybe a glorified crutch for Erza. Anyway, so this one starts with Natsu fighting this sort of wizard with wind powers. And a couple fight scenes and terrible fire animations later. They defeat this wind wizard. And they find out he has a flute, apparently, a nightmare flute. Is that what it's called? Something like that. It's a weird skull flute with like glowy eyes. Erza, Gray, and Lucy show up in a car with another guy from a different guild who's apparently not very powerful, it seems, who steals the flute and runs away. And he is going to some conference place with this flute. I think in hopes to like play the flute and enslave everyone over there. And he gets there, but he's sort of like ruminating at the edge of a cliff with the flute in hand, thinking of how powerful he's gonna be because he's weak. And they find, and he finds the master of a fairy tale, the fairy tale guild, whose name I don't understand, whose name I don't remember.
Makarov.
Makarov, yes, Master Makarov. That's a weird name.
It is.
And he's a very short person with a weird like hat, jester hat.
Yep.
And he is looking at essentially the equivalent of a Playboy magazine in this world. And he thinks that he's been caught by this strange man looking at pinup girls, and he's like, oh, I'm just researching powerful female wizards, you know, and I'm not a perverted old man. Ooh, my back hurts. Anyway, and yeah, so this man, whose name also I do not remember because I was writing notes and not
don't
paying
even
attention.
don't even think they said it.
I don't think they say his name, do they? Anyway, so this man from a different guild, he wants to enslave this master, and he's about to play the flute when he sort of has flashback moments, and he's just standing there staring at this short man as he has this flashback where he's remembering all the good stuff the people from Fairy Tale did for him and how he's essentially betraying them by being a dick. And so he stands there, and this takes a while, a while where they like switch to his face, and then they switch to some scenes, and they switch back to his face, and then they switch to Makarov, and they switch to some scenes. Weird few seconds of a flashback. And in that time, the gang shows up, the four, and also a couple others who are also from a different guild. And then this guy decides that no, he doesn't want to play it, so he drops the flute down, and the flute transforms into a giant monster.
The flute was just like, I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah, he's like, never send a human to do a flute's job, and he just turns into this gigantic flute monster. I can't believe I said that. That's a sentence.
Yep.
Yeah, he turns into a giant like tree flute monster thing, and then destroys some mountaintops, and then Erza changes into some weird armor, which is essentially a bathing suit, but like with some metal on it, and like gauntlets and a cape. Essentially, is what that. Yep, that armor is. And she does absolutely nothing in that fight. Like, you see her, like, transform.
Yep.
And then there's not much action from her. But you can see Gray and Natsu, like, doing their all icy, fiery, magic-y things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tree, like, tries to sing, but it has too many holes, so it can't. And then it dies. Because Natsu and Gray. And yeah. And then they get written down into history. Well, the people get pissed off because they destroy the entire convention center, and they start chasing them. Yeah. Essentially that's what happened in that episode.
Hey, Mariya.
Yeah.
Did you know that the author of the manga Hiro made porn of his own series?
The author of what?
The manga.
Oh my god, he did?
Yep.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Huh.
This was really bad.
Yeah, no, really bad is putting it nicely. Yeah, just everything. about it. So let's just start with what we generally talk about, and that's the animation.
It's garbage tier.
It's pretty bad. It's very bad.
This makes Sonic the Hedgehog look like Tex Avery.
God. So let's start off with a few very clear examples of how bad this animation was. In the episode Natsu versus Erza, there's a sort of top aerial view shot of the an aerial shot of the crowd.
Yes, gathered around Natsu and Erza.
Yes.
What did the crowd look like, Mariya?
Which essentially looks like a pile of gravel.
Yeah.
In a circle.
Yeah.
And 2 stones in the middle.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes me really sad is that the background is really pretty.
Yes, the background. Somebody spent a lot of time on that.
They did, like the floor detailing, the light detailing, just everything. That background is very pleasant to look at.
The buildings look
and
nice.
And then it just feels like the designers just dropped gravel onto the yeah.
They opened MS Paint, Mariya, and just drew a bunch of circles.
That's exactly what it looks like. Like it's.
I feel so bad for those background artists who worked
oh my god
so hard on that just to have the animator shit on it.
Exactly. The background is really, really nice. Like the floor, like the ground texture, the road texture is really pretty to look at.
I think we could say that about all of Fairy Tail. Is that the backgrounds look nice.
Yeah, like the backgrounds look really nice. Just the animation on top of it is shit.
Garbage tier. Well, hold on, Mariya. I can barely call this animation. Like
it's just
okay. So anime in general has a few issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are working on much lower budgets than in Western animation.
Right.
So you get a lot of cut corners.
Mm-hmm.
They're also working usually from source material.
Right.
That is not grown in-house.
Right.
So you have probably executives saying, you have to make it look exactly like the manga.
Right.
Which manga, their design philosophies are completely different from animation's design philosophies.
Right. No, they're not. They're completely different mediums, and so what looks good on paper and in a comic format or in a graphic novel format that manga is sort of laid out in may not really translate that well into animation or televised sort of animated format. And is this manga in black and white?
Yes.
Yeah. So again, adding of colors and textures changes a lot of things. When you try to move things from any medium to another medium, there needs to be room for creative liberty.
Mm-hmm.
For them to be able to make decisions based on the medium, because every medium has affordances and limitations. And if you try to maintain the same affordances and limitations of one medium, it will look bad in the second medium. For sure.
Mm-hmm. The other problem is scheduling. Now, this has changed a lot recently, but shows like One Piece, Naruto, and Fairy Tail don't work on a seasonal schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They work on a pump out as much episodes as possible, as quickly as possible schedule.
Okay.
So you get very inconsistent animation and just overall visual quality.
Right.
Where the studios are basically pumping most of the talent.
As much as they can.
Yeah. They'll put most of the talent into episodes that are important.
Right.
And episodes like these are kind of left by the wayside.
Right. These are kind of like filler episodes, so they're not
Well, I mean, I don't even
As
know if I would call 8 a filler episode, though.
right, you're right. 8 wasn't a filler episode. 8 was because it was referenced in like the episode 10, like in the newspaper and everything, which said astonishment instead
It's
of
Japan. It's Japan. Give them a break.
It was really funny. Look, James, we used to work at a paper. Don't try to deny it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we'll talk about that.
but it was
Anyway,
hilarious just for a second.
Yes.
But yeah, no, continue.
Anyway, shows like One Piece, they try to like do the best they can with what they've got,
Mm-hmm.
which is a not a great situation,
Right.
but every once in a while they can get some really good stuff.
right.
And the overall quality isn't that terrible. But
right.
this, especially the early One Pieces, aren't
Mm-hmm.
bad. Aren't this?
Right.
This is episode 8.
Right.
It looks terrible.
It does. It's not very we found a lot of instances. It was just laziness, honestly. It wasn't even like
I don't want to call it laziness. I don't think it's fair to call the studio lazy.
Okay, then what would you call them then?
I would call it just bad direction.
I see.
Somewhere down the chain something got compromised.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, I would say it was time.
Right.
Like, I'm sure the studio just literally the studio was given no time to make this, and the director was not skilled enough to use that time
to manage
effectively.
that to manage that time properly and make sure everything came out well better. I
Better.
guess.
Like I'm not exaggerating when I say this is barely animated.
Right.
Like, it
right.
is just a series of still frames most of the time. Animation, you'll hear animating on 1s, 2s, and 3s.
Right.
Do you know what that is?
Yes, you've explained it before, but you might as well
Oh, did I? Okay.
talk about it again.
Well, there's
Not on the podcast. You've
Oh.
explained it to me on a separate occasion,
Oh, okay.
but it would be nice to sort of explain that
Right.
for some maybe uninformed listeners or just people who are not crazy nerds like you are.
Shut up.
Wink, wink.
All right. Well, I used the wrong terminology there. Animated on 1s, 2s, and 3s is different from what I was talking about. The
I
most
see.
amount of frames you need for something to be animation is 3.
Okay.
When you have at least 3 frames, it looks like it's moving.
Okay. 3 frames per what?
Just 3 frames looped, if you want.
Okay.
If you want to imagine
Okay.
that, like a ball bouncing up and down.
Uh-huh.
Ball on the floor, ball up, ball down.
Right.
That's an animation.
Right.
2 is just it. You're just jerking something around,
Right.
and 1 is just a picture.
Right.
Most of this is 1s, so just a still frame, or 2 frames of animation.
Okay.
Where it's just a
Right. And
repeating of
we saw that.
2 pictures.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they do that a couple times, especially where it's like they show like one person's face and then they make their face like closer to the camera to like give like that dramatic close-up effect
Oh yeah.
where they just overlap the face on top of the face but like closer and smaller.
Yep.
So yeah, they do a lot of that sort of recycling. And then even this crowd one is a still. Like, they're not moving. Nothing's moving.
Nothing moves.
Nothing about that crowd is moving, which is what makes it look like a blotch of spilled coffee, rather than like a crowd. Because there's no movement in here at all. It's just that one still. The problem is that if that was there for just like maybe a couple seconds, it wouldn't be that bad. But that stayed for a while, enough for you to like actually see, oh, this looks weird and gross, you know?
Yeah, if it was there for less than a second, you wouldn't even think about it.
Exactly.
But no, it's on there. It's on frame for like, I don't know how long. 30
for
seconds?
A while. Yeah, for a while. Like enough for you to notice that this is
What
this looks
is
like
this?
this looks like a concept art. This looks like a malformed concept art for a new Pokemon.
That's harsh.
Again, malformed.
Okay.
First draft.
The new Pokemon series actually has really good animation.
I don't know, James. I'm just talking about like
I know.
individual Pokemon.
I know. I'm just pointing this out. We'll watch Pokemon, the new
At
Pokemon.
some point.
Yeah, and you'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll do that.
It makes this look just God. Now here's
like
the
I
problem.
said, everything is like better than this. This is just like this is the lowest tier that we could go to.
This is the lowest tier. There's another issue that I want to talk about. And that's the issue of character designs.
Right.
Not we're not going to get into the social things yet. Mariya. Not yet.
Yeah.
I want to talk about character designs in terms of animation.
Right.
So when you're designing a character, you want it to be as simplified as possible. I didn't want to say simple, simplified.
Right.
Because you're going to have people copying down that animation over and over again.
Right.
So if you make too many details, there's more of a chance that somebody's going to screw up down the line.
Right.
So you have very simple, clear designs. Bugs Bunny.
Right.
Simple, clear.
Right.
You can't mess up Bugs Bunny without noticing.
Right.
Makes sense? But
yeah.
every added bit makes the higher chance that everything just is going to look sloppy.
Right.
Which is why you have, in this a few episodes, you had so many characters that are off model.
Right. Yeah, and we saw that a couple times happen. Well, not more than a couple times, just happen. Just they look very different.
Yep. These designs are awful. They're fine for a manga, but they're awful for animation.
Right.
Because you have too many bits on them. Way too many bits.
Right.
All those added bits is extra time and money.
Right.
And
for the
unfortunately,
animators, which they don't have.
Exactly. And unfortunately, the studio is going to be told, you have to make it look just like the manga.
Right.
Because the fans will not like it if it doesn't look exactly right.
Right.
Which is stupid.
Yeah. Again, like you cannot expect, these are two different mediums. You cannot expect them to look exactly the same. Unless they're given that large amount of time to spend to do that. So you can't be upset as a fan. This is as a fan and less as any like studio, whatever executive or whatever. This is as a fan. You can't be upset if they're working on like an episode every 2 weeks. You can't be upset with that. You can't be upset and just be like, they need to do it faster. Because guess what? If they do it faster, you're going to be pissed because they've changed some stuff or they changed the character design and it's not like the manga. But you're also pissed because it's taking them 2 weeks. Well, someone needs to work somewhere. Are you the Flash? Or the animators aren't the Flash. They don't have like a team of speedsters working on this. They're regular human beings who have to draw and redraw the same shit again and again.
Mm-hmm. There's a One Piece movie called Baron Okumat. I can't remember the name. There's a One Piece movie. The director completely simplified the character designs
Right.
so that they look a lot better animated. He could do a lot more with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, Mariya?
What?
It looks great.
Right.
It is a beautiful movie.
Mm-hmm.
All because the director had the balls to be like, no, we're going to change these designs.
Right.
I feel like I'm being unfair comparing Fairy Tail to One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
But in my defense, Fairy Tail did it first.
Right.
It is such a One Piece ripoff that it's painful.
No, I haven't seen One Piece, just for transparency's sake. I am the person who has watched the least anime among the two of us. I've only watched like maybe 2, 3. Let's just keep it at 3. And before any of you anime fans hound at me, I am trying to catch up. There's too many, and there are too many episodes in all of them. So
ignore them.
cut
They
me
all
some slack.
suck.
But it's a fun medium to jump into, considering that it's not the same, but it's like a graphic novel being turned into like an animation, which is something that we saw with Hilda, which was a graphic novel that is being adapted into an animation, just watching that. But again, they probably had a lot more money, and they only had like 13 episodes. But like watching that, and then watching this, and then also seeing clips from One Piece that James showed me while we were watching this.
I couldn't help it.
And I understand that, because like I said, I haven't seen that many, so it's good to have more things to draw from, and to just see like, okay, this isn't normal for this anime to be doing this. And the reason that I stopped watching Fairy Tail, I watched like maybe 10 episodes.
Oh yeah, we should point this out. You've seen more Fairy Tail than me.
Yeah, I have seen more Fairy Tail than James. No thanks to my brother, which in his defense, he was new to anime then when he suggested it to me. So don't hate on him. He renounces his statement, and he apologizes for making me go through those 10 episodes. But yeah, so like I haven't seen much anime other than that, so I need that kind of, this is not how it's supposed to be. And the reasons that I stopped watching it was very much more character driven, like character arc driven, and just character archetype driven. Those were the reasons why I stopped watching it. But now when I look into it animation wise, it was pretty bad. I'm glad I didn't force myself to watch any more than I already had.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like and like, since we're still on animation, that fire animation for Natsu in his fight with
Mariya.
the Windman.
Can I put a pin in that really quick? Because I wanted to make a clarifying statement.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Limited animation like this is not a terrible thing.
Right.
It can be used very effectively.
Mm-hmm.
There's a show called Kill la Kill, where one of the episodes, they deliberately had as little animation as possible in it.
Right.
And it is hilarious.
Okay.
Because they play around with this very limited animation style. And they do some really, really funny things with it.
Right.
So I'm not saying that this is terrible because it's limited animation.
Right.
I'm saying it's terrible because they do nothing with it.
Right. They do nothing with this,
Yes.
with this kind of limitation that they have. Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now let's talk about the fire animation.
Oh my god. So, the fire animation, and I saw a clip from One Piece from one of the characters using fire.
Yes.
Which is actual animated fire and looks good.
Oh, it looked
to
really
look
good.
at. And looked like fire and not like weird special effects.
They probably literally bought that effect.
Yeah, it feels like it because the clipping was terrible
Mm-hmm.
around Natsu.
It's like a
Um,
animated texture, basically.
yeah, it was basically like animated texture around Natsu or wherever he was
Yeah.
throwing said fire.
That they literally just cut
Um,
out.
yeah, you could see the lines where they were cutting it out.
Mm-hmm.
There were not enough frames in there to make it look like fire,
No,
or
they
just like
couldn't shrink it or anything or
yeah,
mold it. It was literally like a
yeah,
big, just moving background that
yeah,
they
essentially.
made transparent, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, and you can see like the edging, especially when he does like that fire pillar thing where he's like
Mm-hmm.
shooting the fire straight up,
Oh,
and
that
you can
looked awful.
see like the edges of where the graphics started and ended. And then there was that weird Goku glowy thing in the bottom of the fire, which is not how fire works, you guys.
No, that was weird.
Um,
That was so weird. I don't
that was
understand
very
it.
weird.
He had like an energy
Yeah,
aura
like very,
around the.
very Dragon Ball Z
Yeah.
esque sort of glowiness to it.
There's so
Which is
many
weird. It was out of
choices.
place, essentially.
Yes, it was very out of
Um,
place.
it was just really bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very bad. Um, and then like that one scene where just Gray's hands look like weirdly twisted taffy.
Okay, set up that shot actually.
So this shot, and I have like the screen cap for it like in front of me with a really gorgeous background, by the way.
Yes,
Like the mountains look great, the train tracks, the perspective on those train tracks are amazing.
mm-hmm.
um but
But
just the characters, so Natsu, so the farthest in this perspective, which is also not that far away,
no, it's really
um
close to the
it's
camera.
it's very close to the camera. Is Natsu and Gray arguing about something, and the guy that they just fought laying on the ground unconscious, and then a little bit in front of them is Erza and Lucy. Erza is injured and Lucy the glorified crutch. And then we have the guy from the other guild, just like right up close to the camera, where you can only see his head and some of his shoulder and his back. And oh god, is the detail on that horrifying to look at.
Yep,
It was just, and then Happy is standing right next to Natsu, and the Happy just looks really weird.
he looks horrible.
He looks really bad.
There's a place for those small perspective shots,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, but you have to put in a little bit of effort into that,
Yeah, just a
and they
little
have
more.
to be
Like,
far away.
they're not that far away for it to be
No,
this bad. And the reason I can say that is because the detail on the guy that they just defeated is 10 times better than the detail on the main characters that are standing upright.
that is so weird.
And like look at his like skirt detail and his you can see his bandages and his arm, like his body is well proportioned based on how he's laying down, but these characters that are standing upright, much more important, have bizarre body proportions and just weird twisted arms. Yeah, not the best work
No,
from the animators here.
I feel like that animators didn't have great model sheets to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe no, that's probably not true about me. Well, it's hard to find out. I would say if you're gonna do something like this,
Mm-hmm.
you should also have a style for it.
Right.
Steven Universe has a style for when they do these kind of perspective shots,
Mm-hmm.
where they don't have to animate the characters, but because they're far
Right.
away and simplify them.
Right.
but they have a stylized simplification,
Mm-hmm.
which not only stands out and looks nice still,
Uh-huh.
it's easy to implement.
Right.
Whereas you have these, which are all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's just I
この番組は角川書店と